Delete! 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 Delete!
Hey there, this is Perch, and here's a fun question I got from a listener saying, "Hey Perch, it's a little more of a suggestion, by the way, than a question, and it's, Hey Perch, went and unfollowed all of the creators that I was following on Twitter, and I got out of groups for creators on Facebook, and I've never been happier. I now find that I can read the comics from these creators and just enjoy them for what's inside the page. The following their accounts was nothing but harmful, and I suggest everybody unfollows creators." Okay, um, that's probably a good idea. Just bluntly, um, put it this way: I think if you have a good sense of self, and what I mean by that is if you kind of understand how you feel and how you kind of what bothers you, what doesn't bother you. If you have a good barometer, an internal barometer. I used to think everybody had a good sense of this, and then I came to realize as I got older that many people do not. They kind of act without any kind of understanding of their own emotions. I it's If you find yourself getting annoyed, and by the way, there's plenty of people. People talk a lot about creators insulting fans or insulting the political candidates that they like or things like that. But the other annoyance that I think happens more often than people realize or talk about is kind of this super cheesy clubhouse type behavior where creators will kind of chat with each other and they'll make little inside jokes and it comes off feeling very, very smug. And it can be annoying. And it can also feel very, very petty. When there's a problem, like with what's going on with Warren Ellis or others, and you see creators making little kind of veiled references to that guy who's problematic, and then they're like, "I know what you mean. Who has the bad take? Oh, that guy. Yeah, that guy." That kind of stuff. It's eye rolling. It's definitely eye rolling. I've learned to dismiss a lot of it. I chose to just mute a lot of keywords in Twitter. That was very helpful. Like I just don't see a lot of nonsense, and it also it summed up something else that was kind of scary to contemplate, which was a lot of people who are creative, and you'd think would have lots of different things to say, really just say kind of the same 10 things over and over and over again. And if you mute 8 of those things, it's like it's amazing how your feed changes. just saying. But this is interesting advice. If you feel like you're getting annoyed by some of this stuff, if you could start to feel kind of anger rising or that it's taking you out of the experience of reading comics, then absolutely one of the smartest things you can do is just bail, delete. To quote Matt Hardy, delete. I don't think that's his anymore. I think when he jumped ship, he had to leave that word behind. Anyway, it's a good idea to not purposefully lean into things that irritate you. And if watching people kind of either make snide comments at you, your friends, or things you like, or behave in a way that feels childish or petty, who would want to see that kind of stuff? I mean, that's the funny part is like, if you categorize it that way, if you realize that that's what a lot of it is, I mean, everyone would want to get away from it. Why feed it? A lot of, I think, what goes on with, Twitter in particular is that you have that follower count and people look up and they're like, wow, there's 30,000 followers, 100,000 followers. Wow, this person's really popular. And you want to be part of that kind of popularity club. But the thing is, a lot of the people who are followers there are not active. In fact, very few are active. Many are paid for in order to get those blue check marks. In some cases, many, like I'm saying, probably a majority of people who have the high follower counts paid to get them. That was one of the early tricks you did to get verified and get the blue check mark and get things moving. You paid for followers, and it was really easy to do, particularly about 6-7 years ago. It was very cheap. It was like $10, and that would get you 5,000 followers. And lots of people did that. There was a bit of a contest, see how many followers people can get. And these followers are non-accounts. They're people who never show up. And there's tools I know online I've seen. I can't remember any top of my head where you can put in somebody's account, and it will kind of do an analysis of the followers and give you a percentage of how many are dead accounts or accounts that were paid for. And I remember I put in I don't know, a handful of creators, big name creators who had more than 50,000 followers, and there was upwards of like 60% of them were just dead people, not dead people, but just non-accounts. So keep in mind that's a little bit fake, but also keep in mind this drive that you might have to just want to be in the same zone or want to follow people who are popular, and realize, now I feel like I'm talking to my daughter, that's not necessarily, that's not healthy. You don't need to just hang out around popular people, and especially when the popularity is very, very fake. And so, I think if that's the reason why you're following some of these creators, then that you're not going to be happy. That's not going to go to a good place when all is said and done. If you're interested in getting news or getting kind of sketches, or you're interested in seeing kind of what's going on with the making of the comic, I mean, the reality is you probably know by now that you get very, very little of that. Most creators don't do any of that. They don't put that kind of stuff up. So you're better off, if that's what you're after, following some Instagram accounts, or following a bunch of the as painful as it can be, following a bunch of the news accounts for comics, following CBR, following Screen Rant, or those kinds of places. That's probably going to give you, because what they're going to do, they're constantly trolling for articles, so they're going to obsessively look at all the tweets, find the tiny nugget of whatever news might come out, and try and write a whole article on it. So you'll get the information that way. Another thing you can do is find fans who like to talk comics on their social media and follow them as opposed to creators, because those fans will also then retweet or bring those news pieces up. But in many cases, what is the expression, never meet your heroes? It's a lot of people. I see this arc that goes on where somebody's like, I'm going to be on social media and I'm going to see what's going on with these creators. And they do it, and they follow a bunch of people. And invariably, one of two things happens. Either, and this is like classic story, and this is kind of the big, shame on people. But a lot of people new to Twitter, they come on and they look for the popular comic creators, and they use the recommended. And I remember somebody telling me this vividly inside the store. It's like, I go onto Twitter and I follow Scott Snyder, and when I follow Scott Snyder, it's like, here's more people you should follow, and there's Gail Simone. So I click follow Gail Simone, and when I clicked follow Gail Simone, it said, here's more people like Gail Simone, Ethan Van Sciver. And so I click follow Ethan Van Sciver, and then I do this for the next 20 minutes or so, and I've got about 100 people I'm following. Cool. It's like the next day I'm blocked by 50 people. What's going on? And it's like, congratulations, because you followed one of those guys, other people blocked you. That's what went on. And yet it's such an easy trap to fall into, because there's tons of X-Men fans who've complained about this, because they liked Grant Morrison's run of X-Men. And, there's Frank Quietly, and there's, Igor's on that run, and Jimenez is on that run, and a bunch of people, and Ethan Van Sciver. So if you liked the Grant Morrison New X-Men run, and it's regularly hailed by the X-Men writers themselves, it is comical that if you, for example, if you really big into that run and you follow the creators that were involved in that run, because you heard the current, X-Men, the Leah Williams and Vita Ayala talk about how much they were inspired by the Grant Morrison run. Well, congratulations, you are going to be blocked by Vita and others, the people who recommended this run, because you are following one of the artists on that run. Does that sound insane? It is. But anyway, it's all insane. But this is the challenge of, if you follow creators, if you just come in and you start following them, you're diving into just a nest of what could be stupidity. And so just not is a good plan. I think it's good advice. I think unfortunately, you're probably going to be disappointed by what you find. It's probably not going to give you what you're looking for. And it's if your love is comics, and my love is comics, in many cases, following creators, by the time you figure out which creators are, genuinely just awesome and putting great stuff out to look at, like, here's one, for example, Walt Simonson. Follow Walt Simonson on Twitter. What you're going to get is, and Bob Layton. There's another one. If you follow them, you're going to get great art on a regular basis. John Bashima is another. If you follow those accounts, you're going to get regular, feeding of great art. You're going to get, occasional comic stories and things that went on kind of during their careers, and that's it. And it's great. That's what you should do. That is that's absolutely the right way to go. It takes too long to figure out the accounts that are quote unquote safe and not involved in other stuff. By the time you do, you're probably either already irritated or blocked for various people, which is a shame. That's not the way it should work, and certainly is going to hamper your love of comics. Anyway, good advice, good suggestion, and I think if you're, again, know yourself. If you find yourself getting irritated, bail right away. That's the only smart thing to do. What about you? Is this good advice for you? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.